Tiffany Boyd with Free Your Children here. I am coming to you with an update about HB 1214. I just posted in the rally. We're here in Tennessee for those of you that are following Free Your Children that might not be located in Tennessee. So tomorrow was supposed to be our rally day to fight this particular piece of legislation. We were going to be there in opposition to HB 1214. So I was on the agenda to speak, or I was supposed to be on the agenda to speak. And so yesterday I tried to contact Chairman White's office to make sure that it was still going to be held in, the committee was still, meeting was still going to be held in House Room Meeting 1, House Hearing Room Meeting 1. And I didn't hear back. So this morning I received an email from their office, and it said that it had been taken off notice and that my testimony would not be needed. So I've had a lot of questions about this. This does not mean that this is over. What is expected to happen with this, or what we think will likely happen with this, is that this is going to be that this is a tactic that they're using, and it's going to be added or embedded into another bill during the special session that they're going to be having this summer. And likely the feeling is that it is going to be added into Governor Lee's big plan to protect schools because of the event that happened at Covenant in Nashville. So we're going to have to watch that particular wording of that packet to make sure that this is not embedded, because the feeling with this is what will likely happen is they're going to embed it in with all of this SRO funding and all these other narratives. And then if you don't want this particular section that HB 1214 was discussing along the lines of the charter boarding school, you're not going to be able to vote for one and not vote for the other. It's all going to be lumped in together. So they're going to use that to try to force this piece of legislation through. And that's the general feeling about what they're going to try to do with this. So with that being said, we will just have to make sure that we watch all of this really closely to see if it's added to another caption bill or if it's embedded in Governor Lee's packet. I will also mention, and I can't access it because I'm using my phone to do this live, but I will also mention that that packet will need to be picked apart very, very carefully, because he is wanting to allocate a lot of money for mental health professionals, and that alone is that to me, that's a red flag. We need to make sure that what that wording says, because my concern with that is we do not need a bunch of children in the state of Tennessee being targeted or labeled with some type of mental health disorder when they don't have one that's going to be attached to them for the rest of their life. So, and that goes back to articles that I have written about the ESSER funding and hiring and then the School Counselor Association. And you can find all of that information over on the Borough Pulse, where I'm a monthly contributor. You can read those articles. I also encourage all of you to make sure that you are checking the event, the rally event, often. I've posted a lot of information in that rally event. I have been writing about and warning about a lot of these things for a long time now. And so it's coming to fruition, and I'm bringing my articles that I've already penned out of the archives and back into the group because I have a lot of new followers now. One particular article that I will encourage all of you to read is the article about our legislators who attended a trip to Turkey, and it is suspected that that was on the dime of Fethullah Gulen, who has a large charter school network in Tennessee over in Shelby County. It's interesting to note that the chair, Mark White, of the Education Administration Committee attended that trip. So you might want to delve in and read that article. I was warning about that when they were trying to pass all this charter legislation in the state of Tennessee. We need to be educated, and we need to know what's going on. If you have areas wherever you're from, because I know there are people all over the United States that follow me on Free Your Children, and there are people all over the state of Tennessee that have jumped on board to follow me because of the rally that we were hosting. if you have a populace in your area that does not understand or is not educated about the roots of school choice and how nefarious that agenda is and where it came from and why homeschool families should never, ever, ever accept government funding of any kind and why you should always try to fight that particular type of legislation. And then, of course, in Tennessee, that goes for private schools as well, because the majority of homeschoolers in the state of Tennessee are considered private school students and private school parents. So this is just a very nefarious plan. And its agenda goes back. This isn't anything new either. I think a lot of people are confused. I've seen misinformation being circulated about HB 1214. I think it's very important that everyone needs to do their research. Conservatives are going to have to stop peddling this false narrative of freedom in terms of school choice, because it is an attempt to destroy true private education, specifically Christian education. And if you doubt that is in fact the case, then you can go back and read many of the articles that I've already penned and see how that is consistently coming into play right now as we speak. So I encourage all of you, if you need someone to come and speak to your group about all of this to help them connect the dots, I would be happy to do that. You just need to reach out to me and let me know. We could do a live, a Zoom. I could come in person if you're not too far away, or we could make arrangements for me to come and try to educate, because we have to educate in mass numbers. If you're not following my Free Your Children page, I encourage you to do so, and you can read post after post and comment after comment of homeschoolers across the nation that are fighting against school choice legislation that have had dire consequences and negative effects on their freedoms in their state. And this is something that people don't know. A lot of people just don't know. They don't understand it. And we have to make sure that we are educating as many people as possible. Be careful with organizations that you support. If they are peddling school choice, they are in essence seeking to help to destroy your parental freedoms, your homeschool freedoms. This is a very slippery slope. I have been banned from many pages. I have been not allowed to, my comments have been deleted on certain organizations' pages. I have receive lots of opposition because they don't want you to know the truth. There's a lot of money in school choice. Lobbyists are working hard to push that agenda through. And what you need to understand is how that negatively affects you as a homeschool parent or a private school parent in the state of Tennessee. Don't let them convince you that this is a good thing, because it's not a good thing. Money always comes with strings. It's happening all across the nation. I have article after article. I've done tons of research on this subject. The history of it goes back to the 80s, as far as when Charlotte Isabray, sounded the alarm about this, and people didn't listen. So don't be fooled. If you have not read, I've been sharing, I was looking for my book, but it's over there and I don't want to get up and go get it. But it's called Crimes of the Educators. If you have not picked up that book, you need to do that. You need to read it. It's written by Alex Newman and Samuel Blumenfeld. Alex is going to be a guest on my radio show in just a couple of weeks, and we're going to discuss this in detail. Yes, whosoever pays the piper calls the tune. Absolutely. That's in that line right there is in one of my most recent one of my most recent articles that I penned for the Borough Pulse. That very line right there. Because one of my guests, actually in another state, who is also fighting against school choice and the destruction of homeschool freedoms, said the same thing. So we have to educate as many people as possible. Again, if you're following on my Free Your Children page, you'll see this morning there was a conversation from that someone had moved here from California into Tennessee, and they jumped into this homeschool group, and they were immediately saying, are there any opportunities here in Tennessee where the government can pay for our homeschool like they did in California? Here's the thing. I have some wonderful friends that have moved here from California. As a matter of fact, we're probably going to be going over to visit them this afternoon. However, they understand that they don't want Tennessee to become California. That's why they moved here. So they are, that particular family, you might be watching this. If you are, hello. They have attempted to make trips with us to Nashville to fight this legislation. We were actually in the car together the last time that this was pulled and rolled. And so if you're moving here from another state, if you're moving to Tennessee from another state because you like the way of life that we have here in Tennessee, you like the freedoms that we get to experience here in Tennessee, we want to maintain those freedoms. That's why you're moving here. That's why we do not want the government involved in our homeschool. That's why we do not want the government involved in private schools, because what the government funds, it runs, and we understand that. What we need everyone to do, every person that's watching this feed, every person that follows For Your Children, if you're coming to the rally, we need you to understand this, and we need to educate other people as to why this is not good, why this destroys freedoms. There's far too many people that do not understand what this narrative is and what this agenda seeks to push. And if we don't, someone commented, and if I could access my phone, we moved here from California, yes, specifically for freedom. We absolutely do not want government involved in homeschooling. Thank you. It's not that we don't want people moving here. If you're like us, come on. The more the merrier. But the problem is when people move here and they don't understand this, and then they seek to promote a narrative that seeks to destroy our freedoms, which is what supposedly they moved here for. So yes, thank you for saying that. Thank you for posting this. I hope everyone reads your comment. And those of you that have moved here and understand this, we need you to speak out. We need you to reach out to the Californians that are and other states are doing this too. It's not just California. You need to reach out to those people that you know that are moving here and say to them, we moved to Tennessee because we value the freedoms and we want to be able to live in a state that has freedoms and has protection. If that's the reason why you moved here, we have to do what we need to do to continue to protect those freedoms. And we need as many voices as we can. I'm getting very, very frustrated at a lot of these organizations that have promoted and newspapers and media sources that have promoted and peddled school choice, and now they're all stepping up to the plate and yelling about HB 1214. Well, we have HB 1214 because we've let the Trojan horse into the room, and we're going to continue fighting this. This is not dead. It's not going to go away. If we wind up defeating HB 1214, they're going to come up with another piece of legislation that's going to seek to destroy our homeschool and private school freedoms. This is going to be a continual fight because we open the doors to this in the state of Tennessee. So all of these organizations now that are trying to step up to the plate and try to get parents to call, I'm appreciative of the fact that it's getting attention, but you've peddled school choice. You have helped to cause this mess here in Tennessee. So you need to be really careful about who you're promoting, who you're following. Yes, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Absolutely. So you need to be careful with who you're following, who you're getting information from, and who you're supporting. If an organization seeks to promote something that is effectually trying to destroy your freedoms, why on earth are you supporting them? You need, and if they don't understand, you need to educate them. I have said this. I have been, like I said, I've been banned. I've been blocked. I've been all kinds of things because they don't want the truth coming out there, because there's so much money in school choice and there are so many lobbyists that are pushing this narrative, and it's already in Tennessee. I'm watching this unfold. Like I said, I'm recording radio show after radio show that discusses all of these things and how they're having to fight this on a regular basis in their state and try to protect their homeschool freedoms and their private school freedoms because of legislation like this and because of the school choice initiative. If you are a Christian conservative, you should want less government, not more government. If you want the government to pay for your schooling, that's more government. See the irony in that? It doesn't make sense, okay? I realize you pay taxes. We all pay taxes. If you're a Christian, read the Bible about what it says about taxes, okay? But once you pay that money into the government, it's no longer your money. It's just like this. We pay taxes to the fire department. We've never had a fire in our home. I don't go demanding money back from the fire department at the end of the year. Okay, it's just part of living in a society. Do I agree with it? No. I would like to see those of us that don't use the public school system not have to give our money to the government in the first place. That's what needs to happen. But not this boomerang money where they give you back a tax credit or an ESA or a voucher, because with that, strings are going to be attached to it. And when that money, when people start accepting that money in the homeschool community and that in private schools start accepting that money, it's going to come with government strings. There's no way around that. They want accountability for the money that they're giving to you. So we have to be extremely careful about that, and we have to go all the way back to when this initiative, this agenda first started. Okay, when this agenda first started, where it came from, why they seek to promote this, you need, and I've written about this. You can go to my Borough Pulse, BOROPULSE.com. You can type in my name and it will show you my author page. Go back and read all the articles that I have written about this. Go back and read how UNESCO has a big hand in this agenda. Go back and read how it's all connected. Our conservatives are selling our freedoms, people. Okay? Do not support organizations that are selling our freedoms. We have to stop this. And what it's going to take is for all of us standing up and saying, if you are representing us, this is what we do not want. We do not want the government in our homeschools. We do not want the government in our private schools. They work for us. We have to remind them of that. And we have to make sure that we are very vocal about that. And we educate as many people as we can educate. So again, if you live in an area where you're seeing a lot of people in your conservative community that do not understand this, we need to educate those people. We need to, forget for a minute the other narratives that you see going around, all these Zooms and virtuals about CRT and SEL. Forget all that. It does not matter how many Zooms, how many meetings, how many school board meetings you attend. That does not matter. All they're going to do is rebrand all that stuff. It's never going to go away. It's part of the history of the foundation of compulsory education, the government school system that you see today. You're never going to be able to take it out. The government school system is not broken. It's doing exactly what it was intended to do. But what you as a parent can do is get your kids out of the systems that are perpetrating that stuff. Get them out. Get them out. And then once they're out, protect your freedoms as a homeschool parent or a private Christian school parent, so that then you have the freedom to teach your children what you feel like reflects your family's values or beliefs. There has to be a stopping point. While all these adults are going to school boards and while all these adults are hosting Zoom calls and SEL and CRT and yes, the Prussian model is still in operation. Absolutely. That's what it was founded on. Our school system was founded on the Prussian model, and they are implementing it, and they're being very effective at what they're doing. It's not going away. None of this is going away. CRT is not new. It's just been rebranded, and that's what happens over and over and over again. So what it's going to take is for parents are going to have to wake up and get serious, take control of their child's education or their children's education. If they're Christian, they need to reach out to their churches and they need to ask the church, what are you doing? What are you doing to help us save the souls of our children that are in our congregation? Are there homeschool programs? I work with pastors, if they're willing to try to set up alternative forms of education, whether it be, I believe, my opinion is that homeschooling is the very best model. But if there's someone that cannot, for whatever reason, homeschool, then the church should be helping. They should be helping with homeschooling too. They should offer their buildings to host co-ops and tutorials. They should help parents that can't afford to get their children out of public school. The government is not going to save you. Okay? The government is not supposed to be a surrogate parent. If you have children, it's your responsibility to do this. Okay? So I'm irritated this morning because I'm seeing so many. Can you provide the latest on HB 1214? Yes, as of right now, the message that I received from Chairman White's office is that it's been taken off the agenda. It will not be heard today. And I spoke with Representative Ritchie. He says it's likely going to go to summer study session. It's not dead. It's going to go to summer study session, and that is where he feels like it's going to be embedded in the governor's plan for school safety. And then, of course, I've got all kinds of concerns with that package because I can't wait to see what that's going to consist of. In the meantime, if your children are going to school and you're worried about school shootings, that's a terrible thing, and I hope for you to feel like you have to worry about that. But if you are waiting on the government to provide an option for protecting your children, that's scary. That's even scarier. As a parent, we are supposed to protect our children. We're not supposed to wait for legislation to protect our children. We're not supposed to wait for them to pass an initiative or a package to protect our children. Okay? You need to make sure, and if you have questions about homeschooling, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to discuss that with you. And help you find a way. If you have a pastor that you feel like at your church is not addressing these issues and is not helping parents remove their children from the public school system, I'll be happy to talk with that pastor as well and help them set up programs to make that a possibility. The church is going to have to step in. This is the responsibility of the church. It's not the responsibility of the government. And again, don't get caught up in all of this trying to change the public school system. It's not broken. It's not broken. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's doing exactly what it was supposed to be intended to do. You defeat CRT in the schools, they're just going to rebrand it, name it something else, and ram it back down your throats again. Don't be opting out of student surveys. Just opt out of the system in general. Pull your kids out. Stop this nonsense. I have watched this unfold in the 20 years now that we've been homeschooling, because we're almost finished with our 19th year. So we're getting ready to start our 20th year of homeschooling. It isn't getting any better. It's like a snowball that just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. And this was exactly what they intended to do. And what it's going to take is for parents to wake up, okay? Parents are going to have to wake up. Yes, the kids in the public schools are being used yes, absolutely. That's what's happening. They're being indoctrinated in the public school system. Exactly. And I don't know how many of you that are watching this are following what has happened in Nashville with the Nashville Covenant school shooting, but apparently on Monday there were schools in Nashville that allowed children not to come to school so that they could go to the Capitol. They were given an excused absence. Boy, the irony in that is just screaming. They were giving an excused absence so that they could go participate in this rally for gun control in Nashville, okay? And so if you read the wording in the amendments for HB 1214, it speaks about the group of children that they want to target for these charter boarding schools, the at-risk definitions. Well, one of those definitions is in that wording, children who are truant, who have had 5 or more unexcused absences. Well, it's a little ironic to me that going to a rally for gun control would be considered an excused absence, but a child whose parents determine they're too sick to go to school gets an unexcused absence because they didn't take them to the doctor and get a sick note. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with. You get an excused absence if it follows their narrative, if it propagates their agenda. But parents, you're going to have to wake up. Stop complaining about it and get them out. I don't know. That's my question. Who defines when a student is at risk? That's another very scary part about this bill. And I said it in the article that I wrote, and I've said it when I've spoken to our legislators, the ones that were sitting on the committee, is who defines at risk? Who's making the determination? The American School Counselor Association? Well, I've written about them too. Go and read that article. That ought to scare you. I mean, I will say this. We were very effective. I know for a fact that the offices of these committee members were still getting phone calls and still getting emails. We put a lot of pressure on them. And because we put a lot of pressure on them, that's all this maneuvering with this bill. That's why you see that, because we've put pressure on them. We have to keep the pressure up. I think someone said that in the feed. I'm trying to keep up with it while I'm talking. But yes, we most definitely must keep the pressure up on them about this bill. I'm with Representative Ritchie on this. I said this. Thank you for your determination. You've helped buy us some time. You're welcome. You know, I'm just doing what I do, trying to continue to fight for our parental rights and our homeschool freedoms here in Tennessee. I've been doing this for years. And again, I'll say this, don't get caught up in other organizations that are peddling programs that are intent on destroying our homeschool freedoms and private school freedoms here in Tennessee. You need to do your research about organizations and publications and make sure that they really are on your side. Like I said, that's very frustrating for me to see when I've been over here trying to warn and trying to protect. We are a homeschool family. A lot of these organizations, they don't homeschool. So do they really care about your freedoms? Does it personally affect them? What I am seeing is a lot of them send their children to private school, so they want a voucher, likely, my opinion is, they want a voucher to help offset the cost of sending their children to private school. And I'll just tell you about vouchers. It never pays the full tuition. So a truly poor student is not going to be able to come up with a shortfall that the voucher doesn't cover to be able to send their children to that private school. That's not how it works. Those that already have their children in those private schools get a break. From the get-go, public education in the U.S., yes, that's exactly right. And a lot of people don't understand this, TE10, and I've written about this. Yes, it was Horseman and John Dewey. Rockefeller also took a big finger in that initiative, and also the Frankfurt School. The reason why you see all of this sex education, comprehensive sex ed, that's all part of the Frankfurt School. You can go back and study the Frankfurt School. They wanted to destroy the traditional family, and they've been very effective at what they're doing. None of this is by accident. It's all by design. But we have to educate the masses. Selling their birthright for a bowl of soup comes to mind. Vouchers. Absolutely. I have said often that they're selling their children for a pittance. Okay? They're selling their children for a pittance when they start accepting government funding to educate their children. Yeah, it goes back a long way. But the problem is that most of us were products of the public school system ourselves. And then I went to a public university and trained to be a public school teacher. So none of this was taught to me while I was going to public school or in college to be a public school teacher. So I had to launch onto a path of self-education, which is what we teach our children to do when we're homeschooling them, and educate myself in terms of all of this so that I could go out and try to educate the masses. And, you know, sometimes it feels like I'm talking to my hand with all of this because it feels like sometimes that it's falling on deaf ears. But we've reached a fever pitch in our nation now, and they are intent on running full steam ahead with this. And because of COVID and because of the fact that so many families withdrew from the public school system, they have to find a way to get their fingers and their thumbs on those of us who are experiencing true freedom. And this is the way that they're going to go about doing this. So I know a lot of people don't want to believe that because they want that money, but you're going to have to stop and ask yourself at some point, what's more important, money or your freedom? Yeah, it's just a temporary reprieve. Absolutely. I really do think that there's a lot going on at the Capitol in Nashville right now. You've got the 3 Democrats that they're trying to oust because of everything that happened in regards to Covenant. And then, you know, you've got this bill and then this program that Governor Lee is wanting to launch. So there's a lot of things going on, and there's been a lot of people at the Capitol over the last several days. So I think and then they're getting a lot of pushback from us. So I think that this is their way of kind of shelving it and trying to come in through the back door. That's my opinion. And we will definitely have to be very diligent as far as watching all of this and making sure that they don't embed this somewhere else, because that's exactly what I think that they're going to do. And I'll say it again, this won't be the last piece of legislation. Every time they're in session from this point forward, I feel like we are going to be fighting some type of legislation that seeks to threaten either our parental rights or our homeschool freedoms. Where can we donate to your organization? I will send you that information. Thank you very much. So that is what we're doing. And you know, my website will be going live soon as well. And there'll be a lot of information on my website for you to tap into. Don't forget to listen. I have a Spotify now with the shows that have previously aired are on that Spotify. So you can go back and you can listen to almost every single one of my guests speak about why school choice is dangerous to homeschooling freedoms. And it's not just in Tennessee. My guests are from all over the United States. So go and listen to what they have to say and tap into their knowledge and wisdom on this topic. And again, like I said, if you have a group that you want to organize and bring in homeschoolers so that we can educate them, is HSLDA involved in fighting with this as well? HSLDA and MTHEA and THEA were late to the draw on this. I actually came to the forefront about this bill 5 days before any of them even said anything about it and tried to sound the warning about this. As far as HSLDA, they did put a statement out about it eventually. The future of all American homeschooling children largely rests with those of us. Yes, if we're going to preserve our homeschool freedoms, we're all across the United States. Those of us that are truly conservative, that truly understand what the government funds it runs, truly understand what freedom really is, and it's not the government does not fund your freedom, okay? If you don't know that, you need to do some research. The government will never fund your freedom. If you want freedom, you can't be taking government funds. So all of us that know that and understand that, our voices are going to have to be louder than the voices that are peddling all of this. And that's what I'm finding. You've got Corey DeAngelis out here who is the face. He is literally the face of homeschooling and school choice. He is not a homeschool parent, okay? He's not even married. He doesn't have any children. He's not a homeschool parent. He's a lobbyist that gets paid to promote school choice, which seeks to destroy your freedoms. We have to shut those voices down with our voices. We have to be louder and let them know that that's not who we are and that's not what we want, and that we understand the roots of all of this and we don't want any part of this. You're a great speaker. Please keep doing what you do. Thank you so much. I'm very passionate about it, as you can see, because I've watched this happen all across the nation, and we've been very blessed and fortunate here in Tennessee to not be dealing with a lot of these issues until they let the Trojan horse in the door, which was last year. And I got a lot of pushback, I'm going to tell you, from some local organizations last year, because my homeschool group went to the Capitol and we wanted to speak to our representatives about why this was a danger to our homeschool freedoms in the state of Tennessee. And there were homeschool organizations that did not want us doing that. They did not want us broaching that subject. We did it anyway, and I think that we did it very respectfully, and we got we were given fantastic feedback from our representatives that we spoke to. As a matter of fact, some of the representatives that we didn't even have appointments with asked us to come in their office and for me to tell them exactly what I had told the other representatives that they had heard in the hall when they were walking by. So we had the Trojan horse is school choice. That's the Trojan horse that's being brought into all these states, and it's being peddled under. It's giving parents the choice and the freedom, and it's empowering them. What you need to understand, if you don't already, is all school choice is government schooling. It's just coming in different forms. The government controls all forms of school choice because they're funding it. So don't take that bait. It's a trap. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I've written an article that says school choice. Don't take the cheese. It's a trap. Don't take the cheese. And of course, Tennessee has passed school choice in the state, and so now you're going to see it evolve and expand. And I had a parent in Florida. Governor DeSantis has passed this sweeping school choice reform down in Florida. Well, I had Florida parents commenting on my Free Your Children page, essentially saying they're likely going to have to move from the state of Florida because it's already encroaching on their homeschool freedoms in the state of Tennessee. Don't let these conservatives convince you. Yes, it's just a play on words. School choice. Listen, parents already have choice. homeschooling is legal in all 50 states, and it has been for years. You have the choice to send your children to public school. You have the choice to send your children to private school. You have the choice to homeschool your children. All school choice is the government monies following your children. And once a private school starts accepting government funding, they might maintain the name private, but once they accept government funding, they'll do exactly what the government says. So if they're teaching if they're teaching Christian curriculum, they won't be teaching Christian curriculum if the government's paying for it. These Hillsdale charter schools, there's a lot of misconception about those. They are not teaching a Christian-based curriculum. They can't. It's secular curriculum. So it's just more of the same. That's all it is. Does anyone have any questions? So, Representative Ritchie said, save your time and energy. Don't worry about coming up to the Capitol tomorrow for this rally. Will we have another rally? Likely, if they try to push this through some other way, absolutely. And we will be watching that closely. But as for tomorrow, this is on hold until we find out where they're going to try to put HB 1214 and what they're going to try to tag it onto. What's the plan going forward? I am going to be in touch with several of our representatives and I'm going to be watching to make sure that this isn't embedded somewhere. If I find out that it has been added, is the Senate bill still on study? The Senate bill was sent to summer study. So I haven't looked this morning to see if anything about that has changed. Well, it was sent to summer study. Haven't looked to see if that has changed yet. They haven't even updated on the website what has happened right now. Representative Ritchie didn't even know when I called him this morning. He didn't know this had happened because it has not been updated yet. So it's just a waiting game. And they can bring it back out, like he said, at any time. They can bring it back out. So this is just something that we're going to have to watch very, very closely. And if I get word or I read it myself that this has been embedded in something else, then whenever it is going to be voted on, then we'll be making a trip to the Capitol. I mean, I'm not going away. I still have our family still has years left to homeschool. And then, of course, now that I have established Free Your Children LLC, I intend to do this until the day that I die. I intend, as long as I can do this, I intend on fighting for parental rights and for parents to be able to homeschool their children freely. Thank you for what you do. Please send info where we can donate. Thank you so much. I will do that. Any chance this is a bait and switch? Well, that is something that we have been talking about. Representative Ritchie said that they'll have to announce what they're doing with this. He did get the email that it wasn't going to be on the agenda tomorrow. So, yeah, he said he doesn't think that they'll pull it out and put it back on the committee. But potentially, yes, anything could happen. Anything could happen. What he really feels like, and I feel like this too, I think they're going to try to embed it somewhere else. I think they have their hands full. Right now they're trying to get through everything that's on the calendar because they're almost done with their legislative session. I hear you mention Representative Ritchie. Okay, Representative Ritchie is the one that is, yes, it's more correct. He's been very helpful in fighting this legislation. I think he is a proponent of school choice. We need to continue to educate him on that matter, as we do most of our conservative representatives. However, he has fought for our rights astronomically with this particular bill. He has listened to us. He has told me all kinds of information that we've needed to know to be able to organize. He and I have had multiple conversations. He felt like the bill was horrible, that it needed to be killed. We had all the same views about this particular piece of legislation. Now what we need to get him to understand is the reason why we have this legislation is because of school choice in the first place. But I'm very thankful of all the hard work that he has done. Nice to know. Yes, he has been fantastic as far as listening to the people that they don't want this. And he understood why. And he's been very helpful in navigating this process and reserving rooms so that the representatives that were on the committee could come and speak to those that were there. So yes, and you have to have people, and that's the thing with a school choice fight. I'm a Christian conservative. Our family, we're all Christian conservatives. So I find myself on the wrong side of the school choice debate with them, because they don't understand. I think a lot of them don't understand or know what this really encompasses and what the big agenda is with all of this. So again, we have to educate about why this is dangerous. Love to get a voters list to know which reps support homeschooling families' freedoms. Absolutely. And I will tell you this, I have run into local representatives and state representatives that are not homeschool friendly. So it is very important to know which ones are on your side. Does anyone have, so the plan is now not to come tomorrow because they're not going to hear the bill. I think I think he had a very good point, and I thought this too. They're going to embed it in something else. I've thought that all along, and then of course now Governor Lee announced, I think it was yesterday, that there's going to be this big, huge package, school safety package, and he feels like it's likely going to be embedded in that particular package, so that if a rep doesn't want to vote for that, they're going to say, well, what do you mean? You don't support school safety? You don't want to keep our children safe? But this is going to be embedded, within that. So I think that likely could be a tactic that they're going to use. So we're going to have to watch it, like I said, very, very closely. I think because I received an email that said that the bill is not going to be heard tomorrow, it would look really, really bad if they did something facetious as far as telling people that were on the agenda that your testimony isn't going to be needed tomorrow because the bill isn't going to be heard. So I don't think that they'll do that. I believe that it's going to be embedded somewhere, or it'll come back next year. One of the two. We just have to, again, this literally is all consuming. And this isn't the only piece of legislation that's bad, that seeks to threaten homeschool freedoms. But again, I will just encourage all of you to make sure that whatever organization that you're promoting and supporting and getting your information from, you need to do a deep dive and find out if they have promoted, peddled school choice at any point. Because if they are promoting and peddling those types of programs, they are seeking to destroy homeschool freedoms and private school freedoms in your state. So be careful who you support and who you get your information from. I'm in some of those groups. Again, some of them will still let me comment and participate. Some of them I have been completely banned from, and I can't comment. Share for your children. Share the Spotify channel. Share all the radio show posts. That this is how we educate people, and it's not about me. I've done this for years. It was just recently that I converted For Your Children LLC into a business because I have to pay to be on the radio. It's a lot of money. I have to pay to host a website. These things aren't free, and so in order to be able to educate the mass populace, I've had to do that. So just be really careful who you are throwing your support toward, and make sure that they have a vested interest. Ask yourself, are they homeschooling? Are they doing everything they can are they homeschool families themselves? The people that are running these businesses, are they homeschool families? Is any type of legislation that they're peddling going to personally affect them? Here, you better believe it does. We have 5 children. The first 3 have graduated via homeschooling. We are still homeschooling our last 2, and they are 14 and 10. So I have many years left of homeschooling, and then I have grandchildren that are being homeschooled. So this is a fight that I'm in for the long haul, because I'm being personally affected by our representatives that are up there making laws that seek to destroy our freedoms. So I will fight until my last breath. I want to make sure that generations can continue to homeschool freely. And if they're Christian, they can homeschool their children with a biblical worldview. If the government is funding it, you won't be educating your children with a biblical worldview. They won't be paying for it. I can promise you that. And that's what this global initiative is. It's to destroy all forms of true private education. And of course, Christians are going to be on the very top of that list because the government's not going to fund biblical education. I mean, look at our government schools. Do you know any government school that teaches a biblical worldview? No. They teach evolution as fact. Look at the standards. There are a lot of private schools, and there are even homeschool tutorials that teach the public school standards, which are not Christian-based. And that's fine if we live in America, so we're still free to do that for now. And that's fine. If you're not a Christian and you're still a homeschooler, guess what? I'm fighting for your rights too, because this is going to affect you as well. You know, do you want the government coming in and telling you when you can homeschool, how you can homeschool, what curriculum you have to use? Do you want them to come in and do audits on your family to see how that you are spending the money that they're giving you? Because guess what? That's happening in states across the nation where homeschoolers have accepted government funding. Do you want a certified teacher to come in and tell you that you're not educating your children properly? Do you want to have to answer to them? That's what school choice brings. It brings all these strings when homeschoolers start taking that money. And if you don't believe me, listen to my radio shows. Read my Free Your Children post. Homeschooling is the last frontier of freedom. Absolutely. You want to be part of a revolution? Homeschool your children and don't accept government funding. There you go. Their goal is to reach those of us that they can't reach. That's what it is. They know that we are free. We are some of the last sector of people that are taking responsibility for our own families and teaching our children the way we see fit, and they can't get their finger on us, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. So it's like they're grasping at straws. And I could go on and on and on and on about this. It's like a fire hose of information. But if you have groups in your area that you think could benefit from being educated about this and you would like me to come speak, let me know. Because the more people that we can get educated, that's what it's going to take. Again, our voices are going to have to be louder than all of these voices, and you're going to find yourself going up against a lot of conservatives, politicians, that are pushing these narratives, whether it be because they don't really understand it or they've been paid off by lobbyists. There, I said it. I don't know. I mean, it could be many of the above, but they have to be educated, and we have to stand up and speak out, or we're going to lose what we have. It's going to take a mass education to get homeschoolers and private school families to understand that the government is not helping you. They are not helping you when they give you money. They're controlling you. Thank you, David. Yes, it's coming, and it's coming it's literally like a moving locomotive coming down the track, and I've been watching it, and I'm over here, trying to warn everybody, get off the track right now. And then I feel like my voice is being stifled with these other conservative organizations that are pitching this to parents that this is a good thing, and this is not a good thing. And someone asked me, they were reading one of my posts, and they asked me which organizations have promoted school choice. All you have to do is put in whatever organization you have a question about and school choice and see what comes up. Put in that organization, school vouchers, see what comes up. That organization or publication, ESA, see what comes up. And then you'll find out. You'll find out who's promoting what. Go to for your children and go look at all the posts that I have shared since I opened that page. You'll see them there as well. Oh, hey, Shauna. Yeah, absolutely. Be really careful who you put your support behind, because some of them are trying to come to the forefront with all of this like they're really on your side and they're really there to support you and protect you, but yet they've peddled legislation that seeks to destroy our freedoms. You can't have it both ways, folks. You can't straddle the fence, and that's exactly what's happening with a lot of these organizations. Does anyone else have any questions? I look forward to meeting you soon. Yes, you too. I look forward to meeting a lot of you guys, or a lot of y'all, I should say, because, Tennessee. I feel like I know so many of you because I speak to you so often via DMs or on the Free Your Children page, but I haven't had the opportunity to meet you all in person. And I think that it would be fantastic. We need to show the general populace how many of us there are. You're welcome. Listen, there's power there's power in numbers. They have to know how many of us there are that are on the same page with all of this. So we have to educate. That's the most important thing that we can do. We have to educate, and then of course we have to stick together, because it's a whole lot easier to defeat us when we're all united. And I've had some comments and some questions about that, because there's a lot of homeschoolers out there, and because they're conservative and their conservative representatives are peddling school choice. And listen, I have been accused of not caring about kids in public schools. I absolutely care about kids in public schools. Get them out. That's how much I care. I think the church should help parents get them out. Absolutely. And for the kids that I'm homeschooling a 14-year-old and a 9-year-old. Yep, our youngest children are almost right there with you, the exact same age. I think the church needs to step up and provide opportunities for families that feel like they can't homeschool. They need to help them with alternative options. We don't sacrifice, have you heard this before? You need to sacrifice your children for the greater good. I was actually told that very thing in a very conservative group that's supposed to fight for freedoms all across the United States. And I was told in that group that homeschoolers should be willing to sacrifice some of our freedoms for the greater good. That's a tenet right out of the Marxist playbook, the communist playbook right there. Okay? And that's what I was told in an organization group, a local group of a chapter of an organization that most of you are familiar with and would know the name of that organization if I said the name. And it was actually one of the admins of the group, one of the ones that is affiliated on the board or an officer or something in that organization. So don't get caught up in thinking that they're going to come to save you when it hits the fan. Don't get caught up in thinking that all these organizations that are peddling school choice are really going to come to save homeschoolers and private school families, Christian families. Don't think that that's going to happen. And we have to be aware of that, and we have to know that. The first thing that everyone has to do is, the very first thing you have to do is you have to identify the threat. The threat is school choice. So you have to recognize that, research that, gain an understanding of that, and then you have to go out and educate everyone else so that they understand it too. If you're in a military operation and you're trying to defeat the enemy, if you don't know who your enemy is, how are you going to fight it? That's what we're seeing right now. The first thing that has to be done is you have to identify the threat, and the threat is school choice. But how am I seeing some help is to host the charter schools? And that's not the help. And I actually had the chair of a school board contact me and ask me if I would use my platform to go out and recruit churches and ask them to host charter schools, let them use their facility. And I said to this particular person, absolutely not, because I'm a Christian and churches are supposed to be places where Christians gather to go out and create and strengthen one another, to go out and create disciples. And I said, so this charter school that you're asking me about, the one that you want me to go out and talk to all these churches and ask them, please make sure that you allow this charter school to be hosted at your church. I said, what curriculum are they using? Is it a Christian-based curriculum? And the response was no. And I said, so what you want me to do is you want me to ask churches to host schools that are going to be teaching that their faith is a lie. That's what you're asking me to do. And my answer is no. A charter school is a public school. They're going to teach secular curriculum. Why would a church want a school coming into its building and teaching that their faith is a lie. Does that make sense? I mean, am I the only one that can connect the dots there? And why would any church allow that? So if you know of a church that's allowing that, you need to ask them that question. Why are you allowing Christian children, why are you allowing children to be indoctrinated in a church building? Why are you allowing those children to be taught that the Christian faith is a lie? Why would a church allow that? That's not the kind of help churches should be giving. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm on my soapbox today. I know. But I'm very, like I said, I see this coming down the track, and that we do, I think my phone's going to die here in a minute, but we have to make sure that we do what we need to do to preserve our freedoms in the state of Tennessee. And we have to do that boldly. I love what you said. I'm going to ask that question to the churches. Absolutely. I pinned an article called The Elephant in the Room, Shauna, and I will link that article down after I'm off my phone. I'll link that article. And I actually reached out to pastors across the United States, hundreds of them. People sent me private messages and emails and asked me to please send that article to their pastor and offer my services to them, or just try to encourage them to preach biblical truth from the pulpit. And guess how many churches I heard back from? 0. That's how many churches I heard back from. Now, I did hear back privately from a couple of churches that said, I agree with everything that you're saying, but if I preach this from the pulpit, I'm going to lose my parishioners, the majority of my parishioners. So that's where we are as a nation. So until we hold our churches, leaders' feet to the fire on this, it's just going to continue to be more of the same. You know, I pinned an article called The Elephant in the Room. I pinned an article called Where Are the Men? I have spoken exclusively about this on my radio show, which is on WXRQ 1460 AM on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. I did a whole series and brought men on that are leaders in their community and teach and on the importance of biblical education. And we discussed this topic. Israel Wayne, Dr. Douglas Petersma, Garrett Hampton, Riley Flack, Michael Winter. You can go and watch all of those shows and hear what they have to say about how the church is not stepping up. We are watching our children be led to slaughter like sheep to slaughter, and no one's doing a thing about it. They're just allowing it to happen because we don't want to offend anyone because they might all get up out of the pulpit and take their money with them. You can't go, the church's main goal, main job, main mission is to go and create disciples. If all the children are falling away from the faith, there's no disciples to go and create anymore. So until churches wake up and do their job, this is just going to continue. Fulfill their biblical mandate, this is just going to continue. It's extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating. We have to equip and encourage parents to assume the biblical responsibility, if we're Christians, to teach and disciple their own children. And that's my ministry. That's what Free Your Children seeks to do. We have to share the truth and love about education, whether they want to hear it or not. Truth is offensive to people when they don't want to hear it. It just is. But we have to share that truth, and then we have to equip and encourage them to use that truth and do what they need to do. And we have to have people that are willing to stand up and speak out. And I'm proud of all of you guys with this whole process because we have made a difference. We absolutely have. We've made our voices heard, but it's not enough. We have to keep going, and we have to be louder, and we have to reach a broader audience, and you have to share. You have to share. We have to get as many people on our team as possible in order to be able to continue to maintain our freedoms in Tennessee. And I know I've been on here forever preaching to the choir here, but I hope, again, I'm going to reiterate, it's not going to be heard tomorrow, April the 5th at 9 a.m. They've taken it off the calendar. So we have to watch and make sure that they don't embed this somewhere else. I will keep everyone updated. If you have groups in your community that need to be educated about the history of school choice and why this is dangerous and what we need to do to protect our homeschool freedoms and private school freedoms in the state of Tennessee, we need to try to organize a way to educate that populace. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to me. I know a lot of you have asked how you can donate to me. My website's going to be going live soon. In the meantime, I can send you private information in a private message with links where you can donate if you feel led. I appreciate all of you. But most importantly, I appreciate the fact that we're all working together to try to make sure that we maintain our freedoms. So as things develop with this, and then unfortunately as things continue to develop with future legislation, because it's going to, I will be here fighting for all of you. If you're not a Christian and you're watching this, I want you to understand that I'm fighting for your homeschool freedoms as well. We live in America. It's still the greatest nation on earth, folks, and we still have freedom here. Whether we think we do sometimes or not. No, there's no vote tomorrow. No vote tomorrow, Debbie. They removed it. I received a email this morning from Representative White's office, and then I got on the phone, and Representative Ritchie and I had a long conversation, and I went over all that in the beginning of this video. So no, there won't be a vote tomorrow. We think it's going to be embedded likely in Governor Lee's big safety packet plan that he's coming out with, or maybe put on a caption bill somewhere, or maybe move to next legislative session next year. But no, not tomorrow. I was notified that my testimony would not be needed. If you are jumping on here late, I highly encourage you to watch all of this video. I know it's long, but I think it's very important that we do what we can to make sure that we continue to protect our rights. Not just in Tennessee, across the nation. What I have said in this video applies to everywhere, every state in the United States. It applies to everyone. And, those of us that value our freedoms, we're not just here in Tennessee, we're all over the United States. So our voices are louder together. So we need to all make sure that we connect with one another and we work together as a team. And that's one of the many missions that I have for Free Your Children, is I bring on guests from all over the United States that are doing exactly what we're doing here in Tennessee, fighting legislation that seeks to destroy their freedoms. That's exactly what I'm doing. Unfortunately, my show only runs one day a week, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Now, you can go back and listen to previously aired shows. That's a good way. Go back and share those shows and get them out there so that other people can hear about them and hear what's going on in other states. Because I think sometimes we live in a little bubble and we don't realize that this isn't just happening to us. And some states it's a whole lot worse than it is here in Tennessee because of school choice legislation that has been let in. And then if you have questions, like I said, reach out to me. Sometimes I don't get notifications. Sometimes I do. So if you see that I haven't answered you in a while, I'm really not ignoring you. I either haven't gotten the message or I haven't had a chance to get back to you, but I always try to do that at some point. And if it's really urgent, just let me know this is urgent. But thank you for all the, sharing all of this information, because the goal, like I said, is to educate as many people as possible. And we have to coordinate with one another, and we all have to come together to make sure that, we preserve our freedoms. But I'm going to get off here because we have school to do. We're not on spring break this week. We're taking spring break next week. Because I will be speaking at a ladies' tea, and I need to prepare for that. But if you, like I said, need something, just reach out. As this develops, I will get back on here and do another update. I'm actually making this video on my Free Your Children page, but I'm going to go back and post the video to the rally as well. And thank you so much. There's lots of you who are sending me articles from other states to share on For Your Children about things that are going on in your state. And I need those articles, and I need those things, because that lets me know what's going on across the nation. And I have a following across the nation, and I'm not just working for Tennessee. I'm working for all of you. So I hope everyone has a great day. It is some good news that it is not going to be heard tomorrow, but this does not mean, don't let anyone convince you that this has gone away and that it's dead, because it's not. It's just postponed. We'll say that. And if you hear anything that you think that I need to know and I need to alert everyone to, just let me know. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for everything that you do, and for all your kind words, because it's been a lot of work. But I'm glad to do it, and I'm glad to be a part of it if it means that we still get to raise our children the way that we see fit and the way that God intended us to. And so I hope everyone has a great day, and I'm going to jump off here. Thanks.